Hello and welcome back. I appreciate your participation in the reflective dialectic, and I extend my appreciation to the people behind the camera lens. Thank you. My name is Philip, and I facilitate this practical section as part of my presentation of a reflective analysis sessions. As I mentioned earlier, we're doing this practical sessions to help us to understand the theory and to take it back to our workplace or where we are in contact with other people. And to make it easier, more practical for us to do the practical, we use open platforms where identity politics are discussed. Now, on our last theoretical session, I asked you to listen to and to critique the discussion on MSNBC between Joy Reid and Kimberly Crenshaw, and it was loaded onto YouTube June 2021. So their discussion was about where critical race theory comes about, how it originated, in other words, and what it provoked from other people. So just to be practical, I will first read my own critique, then we'll have a break, and then we'll listen to everybody else's and have some discussions. Okay, so let me start reading. Remember, this is now Joy Reid and Kimberly Crenshaw talking, and they presented a few points. As I said to you at the time, last session, that it's a short video, quite an easy video. I've only got 10 points which was discussed, which is little because you can easily have double that in some other cases. So, we had the privilege to listen to Krishna herself, and she said she originated the term critical race theory. She's a lawyer, and she tells us that being originator and really involved with critical race theory, she knows what's going on. So what is critical race theory according to what she said this time around? She said it's a legal term and nothing else. Legal term, that means it's very objective. It's a law school course and not a school curriculum. She says that because in America people think it's in the schools and the parents are complaining about that. So she says it is a law school course. She said CRT is a way to look at things such as race. CRT is not a thing in itself. So it's just a way of thinking. That's all it is. Nothing else. And it's actually supposed to be a responsible legal inquiry into the prominent patterns of inequality that endures in America, about reasons behind why there are still so many discrimination cases after so many years, even centuries after emancipation. So she is looking, and those who advocate for her, for reasons why people of color are going to jail more so than people not of color. And so that's what she's doing. What she's trying also to do is to ensure that the law did for enslavers exactly what it did for, that it must do that for the freed people as well. The enslavers were white people, and what the law does for them, that the law must also do for those who were freed from slavery. Right. It's also a tool to pick up the fight where the civil rights movements in the 1960s left off. She feels nothing happened after the 1960s, 70s, and she feels that nothing changed. Okay, then it's also a way to encounter the cancellation of many programs that served. Oh, okay. What she says, and I actually take this for the truth, is that in America a lot of programs which are supposed to help black people are getting cancelled. She mentions the Affinity Project. And this is very important. She says we must acknowledge that the law is not a neutral referee. It's objective, but it's not neutral. And I must agree with that. It's also a tool to establish why hopes encoded in the Constitution were not realized, and why their hopes weren't realized. That is what she wants to get realized. She wants to achieve that. So by intervening into the legal system, that's important. And this is also interesting. It was a plan focused originally, take note of the word originally, establish how law was contributed to the subordinate status of, and listen to this, African Americans, indigenous people, and groups from Asia. Right. Now, what was my critique? Remember, I'm going to critique this along the lines of what we've discussed in the first session. Even if that dialectic is a broken one, it's still useful, and I can still get some utility of it, or at least I'm going to try. So the critique I'm offering on the points above, I've already mentioned some of them, is the following. The first four items on the list. But CRT is a legal term and a legal inquiry, a law school course, and an angle of incidents from which to view race. Beg the question how this posture of objective inquiry fits the critical race theory program. So she's got an objective purpose, and that's the vehicle she's using. But then she goes on to critical race theory. Within critical theory, and remember we said it was all constructed in the mind. Reality is constructed in the mind. So she's looking at what the law is doing, and she tells us that she's doing it by constructing it in her mind. Something doesn't gel. I saw evidence that scholars sometimes state the legal origins of CRT, but then go ahead and apply it in the widest of possible extent contexts, using it as a cross to nail the people in power, the unjust and the non-conformist, to instead of using it as a measure to identify rules and structures, but do not deliver. It's just a different way of saying what I said earlier. they take an emotional route when they actually are looking at an objective paradigm. It's just confusing all the time. My third or next point is, I never saw evidence of CRT establishing itself as a theory. I've done a whole lot of reading of articles in scientific journals, social science journals, let me put it that way, and CRT is always radical and acting as a mobilizing force that moves those with proximal perspective horizons towards violence. The opposite of law and order. So she's trying to achieve law and order through critical race theory, but what I see is she's mobilizing people with proximal perspective horizons, which is something I will explain in a later theoretical session. But let me say, it's people who act pretty emotionally. So, now, I definitely have seen evidence that critical race theory is in the school curriculum in various ways. So, I think she was caught in a lie there. But that's my perception. And please note that within this construction paradigm she's using, lying disinformation and muddling information is a pillar of Marxist authoritarian rule. So it's pretty much normal for Marxism. I also haven't seen any evidence that the work of CRT took what was promised on paper by the Constitution and transform it into practice, so that we can see some figures change when we do surveys. How many people gets arrested? How is that figures changing? What have they done to achieve it? I don't see that. What I did see evidence of, quite a lot, is the Christian nationalist conservatives cancelling many human rights, especially in America. I've seen that evidence. So I must give a battle. I agreed with her, and I said that already, that the law is not a neutral referee, even if it's an objective space. Right, what about the original focus of CRT? It begs two comments. First, the list of groups with subordinate status speaks to the prejudice of two participants in the conversation. Look at the sequence and look at the groups from Asian reference. In academic papers, the evidence of how these preachers against prejudice are consumed by their own prejudice is common. Remember I told you when I looked at the point she made, that she first called Afro-American, then the indigenous people. Well, I think the indigenous people should be first. But that's splitting hair. And she's not talking about Asian Americans. She's talking about groups from America. So are we not Americans? Secondly, this is just remarks about her original focus. Creational inability to acknowledge the fact that an original idea changes with time and diminishes over distance from a power center makes for an unreliable witness. What am I saying there? I'm saying that when you've got an original idea, and it may be a very good idea, it changes as soon as someone else who heard it from you or learned it from you puts it into practice. It changes. So the original is not the original anymore. And there's plenty of evidence of that. I can just think of, quality theory, the quality theory, total quality management. Same thing happened there, and in a really bad way. So, my first theme, I didn't really go into themes very much. I kept it nice and easy, but there are a few. My first theme is CRT as victim. So people promoting it, people practicing it, are always seeing themselves as victims first. And they are attacked by the right wing. Yes, that's true. They are attacked by the right wing. On the other hand, they are also attacking the right wing all the time. So remember when we had the dialectic, and I said the thesis and the antithesis, and everybody kind of makes their own point stronger, and there's never a connection, never synthesis. Exactly what's happening here. So, why do I say they are victims? They feel they are defamed by the honorable senators who are seasoned political operators. And they mention a few culprits. The Faith and Freedom Coalition in America, and then Senator Marco Rubio from Florida and Senator Ted Cruz from Texas. And they actually showed the clips, and it's true. They are defamed and they are put over a barrel. CRT followers are called Marxist and racist of the worst kind. Remember, that's what the senators said. So that's making an accusation, but where's the evidence? We might be right, but where's the evidence? When evidence is presented, it is in the form of social media text of Christopher Rufo, who actually reviewed a detailed process of how to turn CRT toxic. So, yes, we not only play the victim, we sometimes are the victim. And if you look at Rufo and what Rufo wrote, evidence is there, then the right wing is trying to demolish them as much as they're trying to demolish the right wing. Now, what's my critical opinion? I fully accept these statements, and I think there is enough evidence that GOP members act like bullies when counterattacking CRT members. Right, next thing. CRT deflects and bullies. So we just had the GOP that deflects and bullies, and now we've got CRT doing the same thing. Reid and Krishna accused GOP members of the following: having a fight-back strategy that is meant to be the perfect wedge to take back their power and protect their privileges. So it's a fight-back strategy. They've already lost their power. They've already lost their privilege. Is that true? what's true, I think, is that it's a fight-back strategy, yes, to protect their powers, mostly. They accuse the GOP of having a fact-free freak out over CRT. A fact-free freak out over CRT. I can agree with that. You can just look at the videos. Right. The GOP is conspiring against those who seek change and are therefore employing creative, manufactured strategies against them. Employing creative, manufactured strategies against them. Manufactured in my mind. In other words, we're also using critical theory, we're also using social construction. So we're using the same paradigm that CRT people are using and doing the same things. Here's an interesting one, and I think it was Krishna who said it. But they are deceiving, using CRT as a proxy for a boogeyman for race. So the GOP members use CRT as a boogeyman. CRT is innocent in all of us, and it's only the GOP members, the Christians, that sees something evil in them. Right, also deceivingly used race card in CRT as a magic wand to win elections. Of course, the GOP members are trying to win elections. That's what keeps them alive. That's where the money comes from. And yes, we do use CRT as a race card because it's in the name, critical race theory. So it's all about race, supposed to be. And they are manipulating emotions and creating fear because they don't want a boogeyman near their kids. No one wants that, and that works for them. So they don't want the anti-racism curriculum in schools. Is there an anti-racism curriculum in schools? I think so. And does it teach white kids that they are racists? My experience, it's true. They say it's not happening. They create fears that non-white children and trans kids will take over their schools. Trans kids, where is that coming from now? Okay, I've seen this often, that they talk about race in academic papers, but they just put in all the other identity politics areas in there, as of trans, as of gender. They're not consistent. Okay. There's more, but I'm just going to stick to those. I've already given most of my critique. Let me just see if I've skipped something. Yeah, I've said that they want to, the GOP wants to get voters. That's factual and reasonable. Okay. What I want to suggest is that they change the boogeyman to boogie person, just to be consistent. What do you think? You agree? Yeah, okay. Now, the tactic to shift blame is common in CRT academic literature, but this is not necessarily a negative. This is because the ability to deflect calls for responsible actions. So, you must think about things before you deflect, at least. We can also clearly see the broken dialectic at work in strengthening own positions and excluding all possible compromises. And Remember, deflecting is standard practice in CT in the critical theory paradigm. Why they call it a theory, I still don't know, but yes, it's called that. Okay, what's next? We are bullying. Now let's smell the roses. What did I pick up? Which is not said specifically or just referred to. What was that? I heard something that sounded like blood matter and assume it refers to the Trump presidential campaign, where you actually see immigrants as poisoning American blood. Remember when Nietzsche, Hitler, Nazi playbook of pure blood and poisoning blood? So the GOP members are talking like the Nazis did. Right. What else did I pick up? We never described the different meanings of anti-racism in the rhetoric and non-racialism in the Constitution, even though they called on the Constitution. We also never answered the question whether CRT is a Marxist theory. Of course, we all know it is, but it's better not to say it. And then what I've said before, my opinion is that CRT is neither a theory nor a practice, but an idea that can extract benefits for those who advocate for it. However, I stand to be corrected. Within your critique, you can correct me if you disagree. So, that's my story, my critique. Thanks for listening. And we're going to have a short break, and then we'll be back, and then I'm going to listen to you. Thank you.